The Painting with Magic Show with Brandon Thomas is brought to you by BrandonThomasArtSupply.com.
Hey, it's Brandon T here with the Painting with Magic Show, and today we're going to do another great project. What I have here is my 16 by 20 canvas, but I put a 2-inch border around that, and we'll reveal that at the end of the show here. And I'll tell you what I did once we get to that part. And so what I'm going to do is a barn scene today. We're going to do a nice little barn today, something that has kind of a little more detail to the barn. It's not just going to be your typical palette knife barn. We're going to play around with it a little bit more and get a nice little barn. And this is a Fredrix Red label canvas, and I've put my signature Amazing White on that, so it's nice and tacky and ready to go. One tip I'll have about the Amazing White is put it on before you put the paint on your palette. Because if you put it on here, it gives that canvas time to kind of absorb some of that medium, and it gives that medium time to set. And that way that it will help you when you go to paint on here. So let's let it set for just a little bit. By the time you get the paint on your palette and everything, you're probably going to be ready to go. And then to check your Amazing White, you just kind of touch it with your finger, and you're going to check and see if you have a nice little fingerprint. You should see the ridges of your fingerprint come through. And so it's very, very easy to do. It takes very, very little. And since this is going to be smaller than our usual painting size, it takes a lot or less of the Amazing White. And the oil colors I'm using is the Grumbacher pre-tested oil paints. They're just so fantastic. They work so great for this. I get so many questions on the paint and everything I use. So I just want to let you know that it's Grumbacher paint, Fredrix canvases, and Amazing White medium. And the brushes are my signature brushes. And we'll have all that stuff in the description for you so you can know what colors that I'm using. I'll have a little palette on the screen for you so you can see kind of what I'm using today. With that, let's get monkey face. So I'm going to take some Ultramarine blue today. Just on the old 2-inch brush. Just a little bit. Don't take much. Just a little bit on the old 2-inch brush. Okay, let's go back here now. Okay, so let's go up here and start painting our sky. And I'm going to start with this one little corner over here and just start working that around. Now you may notice up here that I don't have the typical canvas a holder up here. That's because I've got it flipped around. You may even see a little dot poke through here. That's just from my gripper holding it a different way today, simply because I don't want to mess up my border. And so I'm just going to put on the Ultramarine blue deep. I love Ultramarine blue. It's really becoming one of my favorite blues to use. It's got a nice warmth to it. It's just a beautiful, beautiful blue. And I'll work that down about right there. And then what I'll do is I'm just going to grab on this palette just a tiny touch of the red, and just right underneath, start working some of that in. Just a little bit of the pink. Right there. There we go. That's good. And so we'll go back to the palette here. We'll work on get some lotus and paint up for a cloud. Okay, I got me a nice, beautiful old number 6 fan brush. And I'm just going to go into the titanium white. And I'm just going to take a dusting of red. Just a little dusting of the red, just to warm it up so it's not straight white. Hold both sides of your brush. Okay, let's go up here. And we're going to use one little corner of the brush and start working in some clouds. Just kind of scrub the brush into the canvas. I'm not really scrubbing too hard. It's going to sound like I'm scrubbing a lot harder on here than I actually am, just because of the microphones. And so the microphones are going to pick up a lot more sound than what's actually going on here. So I'm not actually putting on a ton of pressure up here, okay? And so we'll just put in another little layer of cloud, even right there. A little bit more. Just a little more living right through here. And then I may just take a little bit of red on this brush, just a little bit of red, and just make a little bit of a darker pink color. A little bit of a darker pink. That's good. And we'll put that right at the base of these clouds. Right through here. I just want a little bit of pink, more pink kind of showing through. Even back here. I can put a little bit of pink up here in these, whatever's left on the brush. A little bitty hair there. Natural boar bristle. These are natural brushes, so you're going to get a hair every now and then. You're going to get little small hairs every now and then because they're natural brushes. Very important that you use a natural bristle brush. And we'll get more into the natural bristle brushes in a future video. But it's very important to use a natural brush. Then after that, we'll take that old 2-inch brush that we've been using, that we used for the sky and the amazing white, and just kind of blend back our little clouds. Okay, let's go to the palette, and we're going to make a little mountain scene here. It's not going to be a real big mountain. We had a pole. No one wanted a mountain landscape. This has got it's called a hill. Okay, we'll call it a little hill, but it's going to be a little distant mountain. Okay, let's go to the palette. Okay, I'm going to take my filbert brush, and I'm going to take some titanium white. Just like this. Ultramarine blue, deep. This is ultramarine blue, deep. And I'm going to take a little bit of red with that color. And I'm going to take a little burnt umber to help gray it down some. Be a little bit more blue. Okay, just back and forth. Okay, let's go up here now. Okay, so over here I'm going to start laying in my little mountain design. I'm just going to use my fan brush, or filbert brush, and kind of just lay that in. Distant mountain. Now, if you don't want a mountain, you can take this mountain out. But I just really wanted this in the background for this scene. So it's a purple color mountain. And we just kind of fill that in. Just like that. Okay, good. And I'm just going to switch over now to my 2-inch brush we were using. And kind of just blend that on out some more. You see that? And I want this to be in the distance. So that's good right there. And I'm going to speed that brush out just a little bit. And just wipe it off on a paper towel. And see if we can hypnotize this mountain way back here. There we go. See, just kind of soften that mountain way back there. Hypnotize it. Soften it down. There we go. And we've already got a mist going through here. Real beautiful. So, like I said, we're going to have a barn in here. But it's time to start making a decision on the meadow. So let's go down to the old palette. Okay, I'm going to take my 2-inch brush. This old dirty 2-inch brush. Still has a little paint on it. I'm going to take Hansa yellow on the old brush. I'm going to take a little bit of that purple color that we had for the mountain. And that's just going to gray the color a little bit. Let's go back here. Okay, and so I'm just going to go right here below that mist is at. And there's some of our grass. But I'm going to just fill in the whole bottom section with this color. It'll help us, no problem. And then I'm going to take my fan brush that had the pink and everything on it, the white we use for the clouds, and kind of scrub it in a little bit right through there. And I'm going to take a 1-inch brush real quickly. I'm just going to grab some of this titanium white. Just kind of tap the brush into that white. Okay, just tap it in. And then right at the bottom here, I'm just going to tap in some mist. And this is just a traditional way of putting in mist. Just a nice little way of doing it. So just another way of going about it. And then just use your X stroke and your little circle stroke here. Just soften it. Right down into that meadow. There we go. That's looking really good. Now this is too yellowy down here, obviously too yellowy. But we'll work it up. We'll get there. Don't worry about it. We'll make it look good. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is start laying in the barn design, and I'm just going to use that purple color we use for the mountain to start sketching in my barn. Because it doesn't matter and start sketching it out. I think I'm going to go a little taller. So we're going to go a little taller. Play with your angles. Okay? Play with your angles. Make sure that the front of the house is taller than the back of the house. This will give you a great perspective, much better looking on your... If you put it straight, you're painting your house, your barn, whatever you do, it's just not going to come out right. Okay? And then I'm just going to go across it like this. Just like we were doing it like we was in school as kids. Just draw out your little house. Just a big old house. See? Simple. Now, painting can be simple, but if you overthink it, it's going to make it really hard. Just take your time and draw out your house. Look at there. We're back in kindergarten, boys. We just draw it as a little house. That simple. That easy. And just, we're going to say there's a little, kind of like a little road or something leading out to here. See? Nice. Nice and simple. There we go. And I'm just going to fill in the roof with this same gray color. Maybe make it a little darker, so I'll add a little black. Add a little black to that top. Now, maybe I should have made those mountains up a little taller. Who knows? Right now, this painting is just about showing you how to do it. How to get yourself a beautiful little barn scene. I'm just using an old filbert brush. You're getting a nice dark gray. We're going to put a nice metal tin roof on this. It's going to have some rust and all that good stuff on it. Now I'm going to take some black and I'm going to take some burnt umber together. And I'm going to fill in the bottom. Again, just take your time with it. Not a big deal. Fill it in. Now, if you would use NTO medium on the bottom or Amazing Clear on the bottom, this would be darker. It would be almost pitch black. But I wanted the colors to be toned down today. I didn't want it to be extremely dark. And so just fill it in. Just continue filling this in. A little black and burnt umber together. Just fill it in. But this lesson is mainly about this barn. It's mainly about this old barn here. A little black, a little burnt umber together again. And just fill it up. Take your time. If you got a flat brush, that'll work. If you got an old filbert like I'm using, that'll do it. There we go. See, now we have our beautiful little barn pretty much laid in here. And it's simple. Simple to do. Now I'm going to make it a little bit darker. I'm going to take a little more black and put it on this side, because this side's going to be in the shadow. So you should be able to see that. This side's darker, this side is lighter. Okay. Good. And then we can just kind of dabble around with a road shape. Okay, so after looking at this, I think I want to make this barn a little wider. So I'll make it just a little bit wider here. Not a big issue. We just take it out and pull it back some more. See where we're at. Bring this up a little bit more. Work it down. So just play with your angles to see where you're at with your angles. Okay, there we go. This is just the underpainting of the barn. And so I'm just going to grab some of the black, some more black here, and just fill in this. Okay. And that's going to work for now. Now I want to take my fan brush and my 2-inch brush, and I'm going to go into a little bit of sap green here. So let's go to the palette. I'm going to take a little bit of sap green and kind of mush it into the Hansa yellow, a little touch of yellow ochre, a little touch of this black and brown with it. Just a nice little bit. And maybe a little bit more Hansa yellow. Now, Hansa yellow is not a very powerful yellow. Okay, so be careful with your Hansa. It will get ate up quick. Let's go back here again. I'm going to start at the base, the bottom here. I'm actually going to put my palette down for a moment and kind of hold this just in case it comes off, because, again, I'm not using my traditional setup today because of the frame I put on this, the border. Okay, so I'm just getting this in, some tall grass in here. I'm gonna grab a little bit more paint, and we'll go on this side. And always start at the bottom when you're working with a darker color, because you really don't know how it's going to affect your painting. And again, this needs to come out as a shadow. Make sure you play your shadows. I get questions all the time of how can I make my paintings look more realistic? What can I do? What can I do for that? Shadows. You play with the shadows. Play with the shadows. You have to play with them shadows. If you don't do it with the shadows, your painting's never going to look more realistic. So we'll take us a little bit more sap green. There's a little more sap green here. A touch of burnt umber. Maybe a touch of red with it. Maybe a touch of the ultramarine blue. And let's go back here again. And this is going to be that dark color for the shadow of the barn. You see how that barn now is starting to look more realistic. Even though we don't have to make it realistic completely. The shadow. To play with the shadow. You do that right there, it's going to give every painting you do a better look. See there? Beautiful shadow. Now, I'll take my fan brush and let's go to the palette. I got some amazing white here. I'm going to take Hansa yellow and I'm going to go right through here. And kind of tap the brush into it. Kind of spread all the hairs out just a little bit. And kind of just tap the brush into it. Okay, and kind of open those bristles up. Let's go back here. And now I'm just going to kind of start working on some ideas for some taller grass. See that? Just some textures in there. I don't need it to be completely textury. Now I want to just add a little dark through here. Just so it'll show up a little better. More Hansa yellow. And I'm gently touching. It's going to sound like I'm just scraping the heck out of this, but I'm really not. I'm just really barely touching it. And let that brush do all that work. Do all that work. Now I'll make sure I get over this here because I want to get that frame covered there a little bit. And we go on this side. Make sure we just add a little more dark. Back to the amazing white and the Hansa yellow. A little touch of yellow ochre. But you can make this painting however you want. Okay, a little more over here. I'm going to add a little titanium white to it now. Very touching. And you get all that. Look at that. Beautiful grass. There's so many ways to make grass. This is just a great one for a beautiful field. Make sure you leave the darks. If you don't leave them darks, boy, your whole painting ain't gonna look right. Make sure you leave them darks. Those shadows are your friend. Okay, so now I want to start working on our barn a little more. So we'll go and I think the first thing we'll do is we'll start working on the boards of this. So I'm gonna wipe out my filbert brush. I'm just going to use a baby wipe. Wipe it out with a baby wipe. And most of the paint is out of that brush. Baby wipes are very important to have in your studio. I have bags of these things in here because I use to wipe my hands with, keep myself good and clean. And my brush is ready to go. So let's go to the palette. Okay. Burnt sienna, burnt umber. I'm going to take titanium white first, right through here. Burnt sienna, a little burnt umber. A little touch of the blue to help gray it down. Just help gray it some. Burnt umber again. Load that brush up nice and good on both sides. Both sides are nice and loaded up. There we go. And let's go up here and try to put some boards in. We're going to take this brush flat. Not flat, but sideways. This is flat. This is sideways. And we're going to start putting in some boards. Just go right there and just put some on the bottom. Remember, you got a line here. Make sure you follow that line. And then here comes our boards. I could just do this automatically. Just getting our boards in place. Make sure you go sideways. See, there's those boards. There's no one. This painting here was inspired by a place we go to when I visit my sister, my nieces and stuff. And we go to this one place, it's like an old battlefield. And they got these old barns out there. We might even go and film a couple shows there one day, who knows. But it's got a beautiful trail. It's got an old cemetery too on it. And man, it's a really cool place. There. There's those little boards. And then we can go on this side of the barn. And I'm going to make it a little darker, so I'm going to say a little more blue. I'm just adding a little bit. I'm just adding a little bit more blue to it. Just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what I'm doing. Maybe a little more black, burnt umber. Let's go to the palette. I'm going to show you more detail. See, here's our lighter color right here. We're going to make a darker one right down here. That side's in shadow, so you must make sure those boards are darker. You can make it too dark to begin with, but don't make it too light. Let's go back here and test it out. Let's go kind of test it out here by just doing some lines. Doing our boards. See? See how it's good in shadow? It's really in shadow nicely. Ooh, there's a darker one now. Back to the little bit of a highlight there color. See, those boards are nice and shadowed in. Now what I want to do is back over here. Bring those boards down a little bit more. But I'm going to take my liner brush and I'm going to give me a little bit of NTO, so I'll be right back. Let's go to the palette. So I'm going to take my liner brush here and I'm going to make a color that's going to be the dark color. So burnt umber and black. Burnt umber and black. Okay, I'm going to grab me a little bit of NTO. I got a little bit of NTO in this little pipette. I'm going to take 2 drops and just mix that in there with it. Don't want it to be runny, but I just want it to be nice and soft. And I'm going to paint with this brush. Now this brush, what's so interesting about my liner brush is I can flatten it out. and have like a flat brush. If there's a little more paint in it, if it's not too runny, I can flatten it out. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's flat. Okay, let's go up here. And you can make some individual board shapes. You can make whatever you want. But shadows, whatever. Doing this. See how that just really enhances that? I want it to be just a touch lighter, so I just add a little bit more of the light color to it. But mostly right in this area here. I'm just going to start to do this here. And I get real quiet when I do these little areas. So, but it's just coming in here and doing this. Find those boards. Bring those boards down into there. Again, I get quiet when I'm doing all these little areas here for more detail. Okay, you see it's nice and dark. Just kind of roughing them up. Roughing all that up. But it's just kind of got a hole in the side of it or something. Okay. And then I could take a little bit more of the NTO and just kind of thin down a little bit of that color we used for the highlights of the boards. And I'm just taking that brush right through that, but it's kind of thinned down. And then we can just kind of, I'm going to add more white to that. We just kind of just come here and just doodle some more. Play it back and forth. Play it back and forth. But you're in control. This is your painting. You're in control of however you want to be. Okay. Now I'm going to start working on more of the shadows. So I'm just going back to that dark color on the liner brush. Pull down and then start working it down into those boards. Start working them into the boards. This shadow. See that shadow? It's going to have a shadow all around it. But this is just to help us get rid of the dark, too sharp of a line. Just kind of blend it out. And then down here we want nice and dark. Maybe 2 lines. And then you start kind of softening it down into the boards. Kind of soften it down to the boards. Okay, nicely done. Okay, so now I want to work on the roof. And we'll go to the palette for that. We're going to make a nice color for our roof. We're taking titanium white. We're going to take a little burnt umber and ivory black together. And get a nice silver tone. Probably a little bit of blue with it. Get a nice gray. And just take a little roll of that. I don't know, brush. Not a knife. Let's go back here. And I'm just going to start working on this roof. I want it to be textury. And the best way to make a roof, in my opinion, is with a palette knife. I wanted the boards and everything to be nice and soft. So that's why we use the old beautiful nut brushes to do that with. See, there's that edge. And it's going to have another edge on it right there. Going down. See? And then to make an edge on that side, we're just going to make a darker color, more of a darker gray. And I'll lighten that up just a little bit more. Like I said, I'll start darker and I'll ease it up a little bit. So I have that trimming going all around it. Now it's time to get some rust. So I'm going to show you how to make some rust. So we're going to take burnt sienna and titanium white. So I'm going to take my titanium white down here, some burnt sienna, and we'll go down here. And just mix it up really good. And take a little bit on the edge of the small knife. So let's go back here. And I'm just going to decide where's the rust going to live. It's going to live right through here. I love painting with adding some like rusty textures to it. You can just take straight up burnt sienna. Just straight burnt sienna. And throw burnt sienna just straight on. Okay, make sure you throw it down here at the bottom where it's kind of built up some from where it's been going through the rain and the water. Do a little bit of that on the edge. There's some rust there. There we go. Now that's an old rusty looking roof. But you could take this as far as you would like to go. There, I think that's good enough for the old roof. And I want to start working on our door of our barn. And so we're just going to take the old filbert brush and I'm going to wipe it off again. I use the old baby wipe. And I'm going to load into some black. So let's go to the palette. Take some black and burnt umber together. There's one nice dark burnt umber. And let's go back here now. Okay, so decide on how yours is going to lay. I'm going to put mine about right here in the middle of it. Nice wide one. Nice wide little door. I'm going to make it a little taller. A barn door is going to be taller than normal. Okay, so don't make it 6 feet tall or however tall a normal doorway is. Because it depends on what kind of equipment's in here. You know? It depends. Again, you could take a paint eraser or just an old regular eraser and knock some of this out. But again, I want it toned down. I don't want it too dark. Okay. Don't want it too dark. And what I'm going to do now is I want to make a gray. Let me just fix this up just a little bit more through there. Before I start going in here and adding some trimmings and stuff. Just going to do some of this through that. And I'm going to put a door or a window on the top side. So some kind of little window. Nice and dark. Okay. And now let's go to the palette. We got a gray here going. I'm going to take a drop or two of some NTO. Maybe just 2 drops. And using this nice gray color. Again, I want it to be darker. And just to see, I'm just going to look at it as I go. And then go up right up here now. And so now we're going to start working on our trimming. So we'll just do a trim. I think that color's going to work out just perfectly. You don't want to use a straight up white. You want it to be just noticeable. That's what I'm doing. So I'm going to go trim around the whole thing. Trim around the whole thing. Probably even trim down at the base of the door. Then I'm going to split that door in 2. door too. And then put on the old classic barn door X there. That old classic look. There's our doors. And then we can just do our little door, window. Right up here. And I've got the pallet down here, and I'm just using my hand to help me guide where I'm going. And I think with that I have my barn completed. And so I'm just going to wash my little brush out. And just kind of start working on these grasses kind of around through here a little bit. Let's go back to my darks on my filbert brush. Before I can do that though, I need to little burnt umber, same color as we used for the barn. I'm going to take a little bit on the knife now and start working on this a little bit. That's one a little bit of a lighter color. Going on. And use some of that, a little dark with it. Pop out that brush. Just need a little darker there, I did. Just a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to go back and just kind of work with these grasses in front of this path. And then I'm going to take that old filbert brush and just make a decision here. Maybe there's some old tracks. Lead you right outside of the old thing. And I'm going to take an old clean fan brush now, clean dry one. And I'm just going to kind of tap inside that. So I just want to kind of fuzz them a little bit. Fuzz them a little bit. We'll add a little bit of grasses inside it. Just do a bit like that. Okay, now I'm going to start adding in some more things. Before I do that, let me just kind of take my brush and just kind of soften that a little bit. Okay, now I want to start adding in some of the fence posts. And so to do my fence posts, it's just going to be the black and the burnt umber. And we're just going to make a fence post right there. About like that to help us lead you out of the painting here. And then we're going to go back to that black and that burnt umber. And we're going to say, yep, there's a beautiful fence. It's way back in there. And nice third one here. Maybe this one goes right off the old canvas so you can really see it. It's right down here. See how it kind of just turns itself right into it. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. So we're going to make mine just a tiny bit lighter for this other side. But before I do the other side, I want to put a tree in over here. So let's put a tree in over there. I'm going to take my 1-inch brush and let's go to the palette. We're going to take sap green, a little ultramarine blue, a little burnt umber, and a little bit of red. I'm just going to push this brush a little bit and tap it in. Now it may sound like I'm really tapping this hard, but I'm really not. It's just going to sound really loud here. Now let's go back here and put us a little tree in. We'll put a little leaf tree in. And then so right over here, I'm just going to put me a tree. That's right through here. Okay? Just going to tap on our old leaf tree. Something about like so. Leave it open and airy. Just like that. And then we can just take some black and some burnt umber. Same stuff we've been using before, with a little bit of medium in it. And just put us in a last little trunk fluid right there. Just a little trunk. A little bit of a touch of medium. Just a touch. There you go. You make this thing out as detailed or however you want. And then I'll just thin down a little bit more color. I'll take that gray color we was using, with a little burnt sienna mixed with it, and just kind of put them in a little highlight in. Maybe a little more, just so we can see this. There. And then we'll take that dark color we've already had, and right below it, just add in the shadow. Right underneath it. You see how that... This is how you get that more realistic look in your paintings. And then we just go back down to the palette here. We're going to get ourselves a nice little highlight color. Just kind of tap the brush into it. I'm going to grab some more amazing white. And then just kind of push the brush right in there. And get it opened up. Crunch the brush into the paint. And you can get it whatever color you want. I'm going to go back here now. The brush is nice and open. And I'm ready to start painting. I'm just going to dab. Just let the brush work for you. Now, the reason that I'm able to get nice, beautiful looking trees with this brush, it's a natural bristle. And it has an actual artist cut to it. Whenever I designed these brushes, I made sure they had a certain cut to the bristle. So that way you can actually paint and get texture with it. Ain't that something? See that? Isn't that something? These ain't hardware store brushes. All kinds of good stuff in there. I'm just going to grab another clean filbert brush. And I'm just going to load my brush pretty much the same way inside those colors, except for I'm using a filbert now. And then back here, I'm just going to dab on a few extra little details of leaves on this. Just a few extra little details. And you just take your time. There you go. See there? Just a nice little tree. And now we can start working back on the fence post. And we're going to have the fence post down here. And I just want to soften out that shadow with this big brush. Now, I'll go back into the black and the burnt umber with that color. And we'll say it starts about right here. Maybe I like that. Maybe I just want to just really right there. See? Simple. Simple to do. And then we'll just do our little thing right there. Okay, so now I'm going to start putting in the fence post little thingies. So I'm going to take the liner brush now, since we're really far away. We're back here. I'm going to take and just use the liner brush to just put in those little details here. See how we're getting it to come through. Make sure you angle these right. Then we'll switch over to my filbert brush. Or something about like that. Okay. Just like that. And then we take our liner brush and we can start making our highlights on our little stuff. Let's go on this side. Just going to fix these up again. Okay. And before we start to do that, I need to make sure there is a little bit of a shadow back here for those fence posts. And then on this other side over here, let's go on this side. Make sure you get your shadow in. Like there's just a little shadow there of our fence post. You see? Really that easy. You just gotta make sure you apply your shadows. And so we can start doing our highlights. Now we're gonna take our liner brush and I'm just gonna use a gray color with a little dot of blue in it. And then just give it a pull down. Maybe a little more white. And just give these a little bit of a pull. Kind of creating the wood grain on these fence posts. Just like that. It's really simple to do, really easy to do. Take your time. I know a lot of people get tired of hearing, oh, it's so easy. Then they try to do it and they can't do it. It just takes practice. It takes a lot of practice. Let's go on this side. But, you know, like I said, a lot of people get tired of hearing, that's easy. Then they go try to do it and then it's not so easy. Anything you do in life is never going to be easy. Anything worthwhile is never going to be easy. Because if it was easy, then everybody would be doing it. Not everybody's a doctor. Not everybody's a mechanic, you know. Not everybody's a carpenter. Because not everybody can do something. But if you have the will and the desire to do it, if you have the heart to do it, you can do it. But you got to have the desire to do it. Because if you don't have that, well, nothing else can be done. So I'm going to take a little bit of white. A little bit more white here, amazing white with it. I'm going to add a little bit of blue, just so it shows up a little better. Maybe a little bit more blue. And just kind of dance in a little bit of these flowers in here. It's just a light blue color. On this side. And over here there could be a little bit of that showing through. Okay, and with that, I think I'm done with this painting. So we'll go ahead and we'll sign it. But wait, before I do that, I think I want to put a few little birds back here. I'm just going to use that same old gray color we used for the fence post. And I'm going to put my palette down here for this. And just throw in a few little birds. This side. A couple there. Maybe one right over here. And one maybe right there. Okay, with that now I know it's a finished little painting. So I'm going to sign my painting and then we'll take this border off. Okay, so I'm going to take my border off this. I'm going to take my X-Acto knife. I'm just going to peel away the top of this so I can start to get this off without taking it off the easel. Seeing this come through here. Look at this. Look at this. Ain't that cool? Looks like a wooden frame. Oh, so we got a little bit of come off there. A little touch there came off the frame. But that's okay. We can fix that. No problem. No problem at all. Must not got enough clear there to protect it. But no big deal. Can fix that with a little bit of acrylic. So far, so good. So far, so good. You seeing this? Ain't that cool? And not only is this done like this, the edges are too. Hopefully I can be gentle here and not peel any more of that off. A little bit of paint's there. That's okay. Inside a little bit more sticky, so I may have a... Yeah, I knew it was going to be a little bit on that side. But look at there. Ain't that cool? A little bit of paint got on that edge, but I can wipe it off. That is some cool stuff. Now, a few little dots came off of it, okay? And so we could fix those few little dots easily. Let's take a little bit of acrylic paint here. Let me just get a little bit of acrylic. Let's take a little bit of acrylic burnt umber here. I'm going to fix some little spots that came off with a liner brush. With just a little bit of acrylic. Not difficult. This is a really cool frame you can do. Really cool border. Anywhere I think it may need a little bit. And I think with that I'm good. Wash it with a little water off. Okay, you see this border? Ain't that cool? Let's get a little close up. I just want you to see this border. This border looks like wood. I'm going to tell you how I did that. Don't that paint just look so good inside that border? Really cool. Alright then, I think we got a finished little painting here. And I do hope you enjoy painting with me. I always enjoy doing these shows and I enjoy painting with you and helping you out. This little border is an awesome thing you can do. Anybody can make these borders. It just looks like a wooden frame, but it's simple to do. You probably already have the materials to do this right now at home. And so I'm going to tell you the material you're going to need to make these frames. These wooden borders is you take plaster of Paris and water. That's it. Plaster of Paris and water. It's 2 parts plaster of Paris to 1 part water. I took 16 teaspoons of this and with 8 teaspoons of water and mix it up. And that's enough to do 2 sides. You're only going to be able to do 2 sides at a time anyway, so don't mix up too much. Let those 2 sides dry for about an hour or 2 and then masking tape it off and then do your other ones. Because you want to have those frame edges. So it looks like an actual frame. But you don't have to do it the way. You can do whatever kind of frame design you want. But this gives you all kinds of possibilities that you can do for your paintings and with borders and things. It's really cool. After you get that on and it's dry, I just took some acrylic paint. I took some of the Grumbacher Academy acrylic paint. And I just took first burnt sienna and some orange. And then I put that on first. Let that dry. And then took burnt sienna and burnt umber together and kind of skimmed through that. So I have a light color and a medium color. And then I took burnt umber and skimmed over that as well. So it looks like it's antique. So I got 3 colors in there. A nice orangey color, a little bit more of a darker brown, and a nice dark brown. So it looks nice and realistic and antique looking. All that beautiful texture in it. And so really try these out. I think you're going to really love that. So I just want to show you the sides. Have it on it as well. All 4 sides have the texture and the painting on it. So it looks like a beautiful wooden border, like a wooden frame is already attached on it. And I want to tell you this too, on the corners, try to make those corners square if you can. But see, that's just a canvas. And so that's really cool. I really love doing these frames like this. And I really want to show you guys this for a while on the shows. It's just I never really had a project that I thought would go well with it. Any project would go well with it, but I didn't have the time to really get it done. But I found some time this week, so I just did that. And so I really, really want you to do these projects. Check them out. Try it out. You can get you 11 by 14 canvas and try it out. But the plaster of Paris is like $5 for 4 pounds. So, you know, and I used a tiny little bit to do this whole 16 by 20 canvas. I do hope you do it. I do hope you check it out and paint this beautiful little barn scene. I hope you learned some little things today that you can apply with your painting. And that's what these shows are all about. It's teaching you techniques so whenever you do your paintings, you can get monkey-faced on it and you have a good time doing it. So please check out BrandonThomasArtSupply.com. That's where you can get my signature brushes, my mediums, gesso, and my palette. And you can check out BrandonThomasArt.com for instructors, information, and you can find how to do this border on BrandonThomasArt.com under the link Shows, Magic on Demand, Season 7. And you'll see the information to do this frame. So I do hope you check it out. I love you, but Jesus loves you more. God bless you, and I'll see you real soon.
The Painting with Magic Show with Brandon Thomas is brought to you by BrandonThomasArtSupply.com.